Sorry we're starting a little bit late, but I would like to call to order the City of Portage Planning Commission for Monday, March 1st, 2021. If you would stand and say the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Knudsen, could you call roll?
Austin Blanco, here. Tom Jerry.
Here.
Gary Gunning. Here. Mike Hill.
Here.
Gina Baxter.
Here.
Luke Wyman.
Here.
Kevin Witherspoon. Here. Charles Thompson. Denise Little.
Here. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the minutes from last month, or November? And if so, may I have a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second.
Second, Mike.
Any corrections or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any reports of officers and committees?
Not at this time. Not at this time.
Okay. Could you call our first order of business?
Madam President, you want to go in order, or you want to change the order?
If we could move up new business SPO 5-20 Readers Auto,
Okay.
if we could move that up, because there's no public hearing, so that one should go a little bit quicker.
We have SP 0520, Readers Auto Service Center, care of Great Lakes Engineering, Inc. 28 Golden Road, Portage, Indiana, building addition, subdivision site parking, and 6436 Central Avenue.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Matt Dogan. I am here on behalf of Readers Auto Services, who is seeking approval of their site plan. To be honest, I did not know I was going to be here tonight. Our builder who's involved had to have surgery today, so I'm kind of filling in for him. But from what I understand, my client and his contractor and engineers have worked with this commission on every comment offered in the staff comments. And the site improvement plans have been adjusted to reflect this. I have been told that all this information has been forwarded to Mr. Knudsen, and I believe Casey Richards from Great Lakes Engineering has the staff report suggesting approval of my client's site plan. There has been one issue mentioned about the west end of my client's property, and I believe it was with shrubbery that's supposed to be put in there. And they do plan on putting in some taller shrubbery to kind of keep some privacy there. We do have a rendering of this building too. Mr. Reeder brought it in if you'd like to see that.
Mr. Knudsen, aren't we supposed to have a set of plans? We're approving the building.
You should have received the plan set that
That was to the BZA. This is the site plan. That doesn't reflect the building. And we also don't have their application, a copy of their application.
No, I've been for several months, that's in the file. I haven't printed those things out.
Okay, I'd like to continue that because we've always done that. So I'd like to continue to get those documents. They're supposed to submit 6 copies with their application. They're supposed to submit 6 copies with their application.
We have gone to basically more electronic version of that.
So they don't have to provide you with actual paper.
They do sometimes, but I'll take the electronic version also.
Okay. But yes, some people don't have good copiers, so if we can have them in paper form, that would be much better.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead and continue.
As we all know, Readers Automotive Services has been operating in Portage for over 60 years. They have been amenable to all the recommended changes by this commission, and tonight we ask for the approval of the site plan.
Okay. Is that all of your comments?
Yes.
Okay. Just one thing, that staff did it, doesn't leave it not open to the commission.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that you're approved,
Right.
just that what they have asked for
Okay.
has been okayed by them.
I understand.
Okay. Are there any questions from the commission?
I have a couple of questions. On this drawing, this one is, I guess, the second one, or third one in the page here. Yeah, third one. I was wondering about the newer portion on the left-hand side here. It looks like an entryway from Central Avenue,
Correct?
okay? It's only 21 feet wide. Is that supposed to be an in and an out?
I'll have to ask.
Entry and exit?
I'll have to ask the engineer.
Okay.
Yep, I do not have that information.
All right, because I didn't see, it looks like the original one here in the middle is much larger than that. And my concern was people coming in or out generally don't stay necessarily to one side, so now it becomes very tight.
Okay,
Or not being able to get in until somebody gets out, and Central Avenue is really busy.
Right.
Obviously.
Yes.
Okay? So it seems to me that needs to be larger.
okay,
Okay, I don't know the rules on that, but it just seems to me that's small, especially compared to the original one, or at least just, by visual size, it looks much smaller.
If I can actually
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
sorry,
No problem.
like, we were at a disadvantage with the contractor. the
Sure.
surgery. It's actually gonna be an inlet, is what we're using that for, and then as the cars come out, they'll be going through that main entrance, leaving onto Central Avenue.
So that's just an entryway only, from coming into from Central.
Yes,
How are you going to control ins and outs?
signage. We'll have the signage there, and then if you look at it, the front of the parking lot will be 2 lanes to go either way through there. And then as you wrap around the building to go through the express care, it'll all be 1 lane, or 1 way, I'm sorry, through there for a flow of traffic. Because if you've ever been to our lot, it gets hectic. So that's what we're trying to do, is just keep a steady flow of traffic in one direction.
So then, I'm trying to get a visual on this. So are you saying that this area has no access to vehicles at all?
Can I step up?
Sure, come on.
I don't-
And just so the commission knows, that Jake and I know each other. Okay, we've known each other for years. He's worked on my cars. We're both members at Knights of Columbus. Okay, so we know each other. Okay, so just so you know.
Which area were you?
Well, we've never been to dinner together. He's never invited me anywhere. So apparently we're not close. Anyway, Jake, yeah, I'm talking about this area here. Is
Yeah,
this?
this is a 2 lane, so cars
This
can
will be
park
2 lane.
here.
Okay, so
There'll
the
be-
parking
This
is,
is all new parking, so it'll
Okay.
actually double our frontage parking.
gotcha.
And then it will be 2 lanes, so if a car does come in here, they have the option to park here. As the cars come out of this 3-lane express care, they'll be going this way through the main entrance.
Gotcha, so you go through here, and then you're
Yeah,
supposed to work your way out
so
that
You
way.
actually just pull in, you stay in your vehicle to the other.
And what about this area here? Is this an access through here to get out here or in?
It will not be, and I'm sorry you guys can't see what we're talking about, but where the new building will be starting, there'll be a hedgerow of bushes, as well as what we want to do on the west side of the property.
Can you point out on,
Yeah, absolutely. So what Luke and I were just discussing, sorry, you guys can't see. This will be the new building, the 3 bays right here with its own lobby. And then the cars, the entrance that's on there, that's the 1-way is further down the road. You'll actually enter in there, and it'll be a 1-way all the way through the back of this building to these 3 bays. And then you will leave. They really don't have the entrance in the right area. But you would pull out and leave the main entrance as well for a steady flow of traffic. And then what his question was, at the back side of this building, you could see where it kind of makes that angled turn to go into the garage. There's going to be a row of 6-7 foot bushes there to block it, so traffic's not going back and forth back there. It will be only 1-way. 1-way in, 1-way out through the bays to help the flow of traffic. Sorry, did you guys catch that at all?
So what is it, this section here, is this new or old, or?
That's going to be new. That's going to be employee parking.
That's just employee parking?
Yes,
And there's no way to get from here?
there is not.
Okay.
Unless through the front.
Right, through the
Yeah,
front you can, yes.
The reason I would like to do the row of bushes there is to stop traffic from my technicians driving where customers are coming in a 1-way direction. I want to make sure that that never happens, so there will be a blockage there.
Okay.
So you would have to go around the front of the building.
All right, thank you, Jake.
Sorry.
Could you sign in since you
Yes.
spoke? Any other questions? I do have a couple. So where they're going to is an oil change bay? And how long does an oil change take?
Well, currently, we're about 25 to 30 minutes. This it's going to quicken the process because it's a pit system. So cars will pull in, as you know, most quick loops. You know, there's a pit, somebody underneath the vehicle. Customer has the option to stay in their vehicle or go into the lobby.
So you may have cars backed up there
Yeah.
with engines running?
Well, we'll have, how it's going to be set up is we have the 3 bays, the 3
Right.
pits. It's actually a 6-bay system. So what you see in the front here are the 3 garage doors. The pits will be closest to these 3 doors. Will be closest to these 3 doors. And then behind it will just be open concrete, so there'll be a staging area for the next car coming in. So we can begin those services, begin the check-in process. So we could have 6 cars in there at one time.
Okay.
Which
But you
current-
could have cars waiting in the parking?
Absolutely,
on the-
yeah. If you've ever been to our business, they will be.
Oh, I know, I know. I
And the
drive
way
by
we have
every
it-
day.
The way we have it now is, this is our receiving, I'm sorry. This is our receiving bays are right here, right at the main entrance. So we're getting them backed up into Central Avenue at this point.
Okay.
We have a check-in office there. They pull in, and if you get about 4 or 5 cars, they're backed up. So the 6 bays will hopefully alleviate that, but
Okay.
I think during the busy times, they will be backed up, but they'll be behind our business where it's safe and there's no traffic.
Okay.
I have a
And then as they
question.
pull out, there won't be
Go
a
ahead.
line going out.
What if, you said the wait time is roughly around 25 minutes or so, what happens, is there gonna be enough room where if there's multiple cars and someone realizes, hey, I can't wait that long, or they get an emergency phone call, how are they to get out of that line?
They would go, well, that's a good point. It would go through the garage. But if all the garages are full, they'd be waiting until that next oil change is done to get out.
That one-way area, that's, because she brings up a good point. That one-way area, that's 15 feet wide. Is that wide enough for 2 vehicles to get through, say two pickup trucks?
For the entrance coming off the road, no, it'll be one. And then as it turns, it spreads out where the cars will go.
I see
go
that.
through. Yeah, I didn't want to make a double lane because I didn't want any chance that traffic starts going backwards for safety reasons.
Or fights.
What's that?
Or fights.
Yes, yeah, that too.
Right now, Jake, you have 2 bays now for oil changes?
6.
Right now you have 6?
Yeah, well, we have the same setup, the 6-bay setup,
Yes.
but we have 2 lifts, 2 drive-ons that go up and down, and then
Okay.
2 of the 2 posts for like tire rotations.
Okay.
So we do 2 of the lifts are mainly oil change.
Two sections for oil change?
Yeah, is what we're doing now.
Do you ever get so many people waiting for oil change, you have major backup now?
No, we do a pretty good job. You know, like I said, the check-in is where it's normally the slowest. Once the cars are behind the building, that's kind of why we spread it out like this. And the new section is they feather out to the bays. But the biggest backup is at the check-in because you're checking 1 car in and then 3 or 4 more pull in, and they're just in a straight line backed up. So that would be where if we have any, that's where it occurs.
Okay.
But like you said, sometimes cars are backed up. Is there a way that they'd be able to get out in the event that they need to?
The only way to get out from that way would be to go through the garage. Yeah. But that would have to, you would have to have, I mean, to have it backed up where you're, I mean, over 9 cars in there at once.
You have an
Because
existing, I know you have an existing back lot for parking here, which is on the drawing, okay? Is there any way to get, at this time, any way to get from this one-way section where you drive into your new bays, and in an emergency, be able to get to this back lot so you can get out of there, if necessary?
Absolutely, we could do something like that. Yeah, and I'm not opposed to that. The only reason I did that is, and I understand where you're coming from, the only reason I did it is just for safety.
Because I guess what I'm thinking of in my head is if you have cars up on oil changes, you can't drive them now.
Yeah.
Right? You can push them out of the way if you had quick time, but that's all delayed in time. If you need to get a rescue squad in there, or if you need to get somebody out of there quickly, there's no place for them to go if you happen to get busy enough that, you know, and that puts you at liability, you know, there's no way out, you know,
Yeah.
so.
But most emergency vehicles, they would come in from the front of the garage anyway, you know, through the garage doors would be their
But to get
access
the
point.
person out.
We're
Inside.
talking about getting somebody out.
Right.
If the car itself needs to get out.
If somebody
it needs
decides
to
they don't want to do an
emergency.
oil change.
Right.
Okay.
If they thought, I can go ahead and get an oil change before I pick my kids up from school.
Okay.
So they end up in there 45 minutes, they're still in line, they
Yeah.
can't get out. What do you do?
Yeah, yeah, and then that's a good point. We could put up a gate of some kind there
Thank you, yeah,
that's
that-
used to open, you know, in that
Connect,
type of
yeah.
situation, but still keep people from going
Right.
in the wrong direction. So,
But have
yeah,
a backup
that's a
in
good
the
point.
event.
Yeah. Or I just tell my guys to go a little faster.
Okay. Another question I have, will all the doors be replaced? Because when we were at the BZA, we had asked for brick. So I'm asking, because some of your doors are not very nice.
And you're talking about the current doors?
Correct.
Yeah, we had touched upon that too. That's one thing that I want to do is make the whole building look as if it's
Cohesive.
one. Yes, exactly. And the way that it is, and you're correct, it will not if
Right.
we do not do.
It'll look
one
like
thing.
an add-on.
So we will. I've been getting some quotes on doors.
Do we have that on our plans, Kurt, that all the doors are new? All the light fixtures are new?
No, that was discussed at the BZA when they were granted their variance.
Yes. Yeah, we
Right.
had talked about.
But do we have it on our plans, or do we need to make a contingency?
They didn't include, you're correct, I don't see any elevations in this, and I don't know if that was something that was included in the DRC and
Because we are supposed to have complete plans.
that's true, it didn't get included in the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission would like to make a contingency on that status, they certainly will,
Okay.
unless you have the plans, you know, with you right now.
The plans for what?
Your building?
You didn't receive the plans at all?
No.
No, I do not have them with me. I figured they were all emailed to you.
Well, we usually can't print up things like this.
Okay. No, I do not have the plans.
Okay. Kurt, the other question I have is if we did not give them a variance, but they had to go through for a zoning change, what would that setback on the west side be?
The setback on the west side, was set at the BZA as using the.
No, it wasn't. We talked about it, but then we passed the variance and said that we can talk about it when we get here. So that 20-foot wasn't set?
The side yard setback, I believe, on the neighborhood commercial was 10 feet.
Correct. But if they had to go get a zoning change, not a neighborhood commercial, we gave them a variance, correct?
You gave them a use variance that. Yeah, part of the motion, and I have that attached to my staff report that you all have, that you granted the use variance and the neighborhood commercial development standards apply to the area noted in the application, which is those
Correct.
three sections.
Correct.
So within that development standard, the side yard setback in the neighborhood commercial is 10 feet. Given that the use to the west is residential, there was an additional 10 feet setback set for the buffer, for the additional buffer by ordinance.
And I agree with that, how you said that. But when we granted that, we were told, because the neighbors were here, and you said that we wanted to be good to our neighbors, we want to protect their home value, because now they are next to neighborhood commercial, with cars possibly sitting in the drive with their cars running, and exhaust coming out, and possibly a fence, possibly something more than an arborvitae.
Well, they have a 6-foot fence up already blocking our 2 properties. There is a fence along that
Okay.
whole wall right now. And we wanted to put the bush to kind of hide the fence and just give a little.
So how big will your bushes be when you install them?
I don't know.
They'll be
don't even know
starters,
about
they
the
won't be
landscape.
6 to 7 foot for years.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
haven't looked into that. But yeah, the goal is to get a big natural fence line established in front of their fence. Because there is a fence that goes from their backyard to our backyard.
Okay, so you've got 8 arborvitaes. And only by their garage, not going all the way back to like where the road goes. I think they were looking for something a little more protective.
Okay.
Do you
I
remember?
remember talking about this, yes. And I think we're amenable to changing the type of, what was the word you used, arborvitaes?
Arborvitaes.
Arborvitaes, yes.
Is what these are.
I think we could make a change like that.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
That was the landscape plan that I told a landscaper kind of what to
Okay.
do. I don't know anything about these flowers or plants. Or
Well, no,
bushes,
what you have on your plans are arborvitaes.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I believe doing landscape did that. I told them what I wanted, a natural screen.
Okay.
If you have better ideas, then yeah, I have.
If we express this goal to them better, I think they would probably develop a better plan for us.
Right. I mean, because we made a promise when we gave the variance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And
That-
I wanted
Right.
to look clean as well, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So you are open to doing something in case a vehicle has to get out?
Yeah, what we were talking about, can I show you?
Absolutely.
Real quick. They brought up a very good point, and one I didn't really think of. If we put a gate, say that we were gonna do, and this is what you're talking about.
We're
right?
those are the
Yeah.
arborvitaes.
So we want to run all the way to
Right.
the, yeah.
And then here, what if somebody's stuck there?
That would be that would have to be 30 cars in, and 20. These are 6 would be here, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 12. We're gonna do a gate here.
Okay.
So you can get to this lot, but then stop traffic from going this
Okay.
way. But yeah.
So like that.
So
Even
well,
maybe-
it'd be almost right here. 'Cause
Okay.
this, I think, my thought was to use these kind of right here, but if we put a gate, that would go right through to the 2 parking lots.
Instead of using the trees as a buffer, couldn't you just put a gate there that would eliminate that?
We could, yeah, but you don't want to go here, because this is parking, this will be parking,
Okay.
so it would be right here, and this is the 2-lane from the parking.
Okay.
So it would be more right here, which, yeah, it's a good idea to use the gate.
Okay, so he's 6, 9, 12,
This would probably be
13.
2, yeah, 2 or 1, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
I
I
do
think we're,
40 oil
I think
changes
as long
a
as he
day,
has a
so
way
it's-
out here.
Right.
As long as he has a way
Right.
out here, these cars can be moved out and get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Just get out of the way so they can get to the person here, say, or anybody
Right.
stuck back here.
Right.
All right, they can just move these out of the way and then they can get back there.
Right.
I think that's what we were bringing up, is the concern. There's no way to get, if there's here, there's no way to get them in and around.
And I don't think we could actually put the parking lot there because of the property line, correct? It would, we can't build that close.
I mean,
What is-
even if it was here.
Yeah,
Right.
they
but
can
we
still
put it
get
right here.
Right.
Even here, as long as they can get
Yeah.
out, and they get in.
Yeah.
It gets them an exit out, you know, even in this area here, they can go right out and get out. Anywhere in here, they can get out. All these cars can be moved out of the way
Right.
right away, and they can get back in an emergency spot if they had to, or whatever they had to do, or wheel the person out.
Okay.
Right here, right? It's just this way, swing, just like you have drawn here. You can swing out this way into the existing parking lot. These cars here, let's say 2 rows, they swing out, swing out, swing out, swing out. They get to this guy here.
We were just talking about, because I know that, I've been in the back of
Yeah, here, I don't know what's in here, I don't know if there's enough room
This
for a
this
road
is
right
just,
here.
yeah, this is just grass here.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's.
But are they allowed to put a road in this area here, or this
This
easement?
is-
It's
yeah,
got to
this
be
is
that
40.
setback.
Yeah. So we could put it right here.
Okay.
But just to give you an idea, right now we're doing about 42, 43 oil changes a day.
Okay.
You know, from 7 in the morning till 6 at night.
Okay.
So I've never, it'd be great to have that.
Right, just,
But yeah, I see where you're
Okay.
coming from. But yeah, I think that's a good idea, and that way it doesn't.
okay. So you could submit something in writing on that. You could submit about all the front will be updated to make it look cohesive.
And those bushes on the side, those. would
Extend
work.
those?
Those bushes would work, but just put more.
Right.
In 2 rows, just
Well,
single rows.
you know what, it depends how they start out. If they start out at 3 feet, it's not gonna give them much protection.
Yeah, and I'm sure we can get them taller.
Right. But I mean, you don't need to produce them at 8 foot or 9 foot.
Yeah.
But,
But not the little.
we've had experiences before where we get baby stuff. Austin, what did you have a question about?
I think we got
Okay, okay,
what we were talking about, so.
okay.
I'll work that out.
Any other questions or comments? Is anybody willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this on 2 contingencies.
Yes.
One will be the emergency exit area for vehicles, and the second one was,
All the front doors be replaced, because we don't have plans.
so all the front doors be the same,
Uniform.
correct? Okay.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and we have a second. Mr. Knutson, could you?
So I have Luke making that motion, I believe.
Yes.
And second is Mike. Austin Bonta? Yes. Jerry?
Yes.
Jerry Bennett? Yes. Mike Hill?
Yes.
Gina Geis first.
Yeah.
Luke Wyman?
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon? Yes. Denise Little?
Yes.
Chip Thompson?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Matt?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
And it's Matt, correct?
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you for stepping in. Like you said, you didn't plan on being here, and I hope the surgery went.
Thank you guys for understanding.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
Don't forget your rendition.
Yes.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you call our next order of business?
We have T0121, and our home is in the area of Weezer and Wiley, LLP, 429 West Lincoln Way, Highway, Sherrill, Indiana, seeking primary plan approval for Brookside subdivision, 64.68 acres, at the corner of Loop Road and Airport Road, 174 lots, 4 houses.
Good evening.
Good evening. Just finish this real quick. Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chairperson and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Jim Weezer. I'm the attorney for the project, and as you heard before, Kurt read my address into the record. We're here this evening for a public hearing on the Brookside subdivision that Kurt was making mention of. I've provided the proofs of publication and the notices to Mr. McClure at the outset of the meeting. I'm here just to get the ball rolling, and I'm going to turn it over to the representatives of Lennar and our consultants that know what they're talking about. And I'd just like to introduce them real quickly. We have Todd Clevin over here and Jessica Cobb. They are the representatives from Lennar. Over here is Rich Olson, our landscape architect. And back here is Brad Moore from Manhard Consulting, our engineer who does all the heavy lifting. I just simply want to say that this is a matter that's taken some time to get to you, and Todd's going to explain that to you. And I know, Ms. Little, you're familiar with it because we've been in front of the BZA and we've been in front of the Planning Commission for various things that we had to get accomplished, such as several developmental variances, such as the rezoning of the property south of Loop Road, between the road and the apartments. All that's been taken care of, and we're now here for kind of like the final enchilada. So appreciate your time this evening, and I'm going to turn it over to Todd Clevin for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. Good evening, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you again. For the record, and as Mr. Weezer indicated, my name is Todd Clevin. I'm the Planning and Entitlement Manager for Lennar Homes. Our offices reside at 1141 East Main Street, Suite 108 in East Dundee, Illinois. And I personally am a Northwest Indiana resident. I've been developing land going on my 26th year in Northwest Indiana. One of my first projects I picked up at the very tail end was your Walmart right here in Portage. I was wet behind the ears, very green. I worked for Jim Hawk and spent the majority of my career there. And as I indicated to you back in November, I had joined Lennar, and it's been a great move on my part, and I'm very excited to continue developing in Northwest Indiana. And the short of it all is I'm very excited to be here this evening. And one other thing I'd just like to mention is very appreciative of your staff and your legal counsel. They're always right there to answer the questions when we reach out to them. It's a very development-friendly community that you have here. And it's looking forward to not only Brookside that we have in front of you this evening, but other parcels that I've been fortunate enough to tie up with some assistance of your own planner, AJ Monroe. He's very good with working with us and helping us direct where we should go with future development. So with that, I'm in front of you this evening, as Mr. Weezer indicated, for a public hearing on our primary plat approval for the Brookside subdivision. A little history on this property. We picked this property up when one of our competitors had dropped it, and at that time they had entered some of their entitlement processes and due diligence, in which they dropped the property and we went ahead and picked it up. At that time, they had the property split in half, multifamily to the south and single family to the north. We picked that ball up and ran with it, and we just could not get the project to pencil, and that's when we had to circle back and we came in front of you for some additional entitlements. We rezoned it back to R2, so the entire parcel, the entire 65 acres is all R2. We did that back in November of 2020, and then we also went in front of the BZA in December of 2020 and sought an increase in the lot size coverage, as well as setting the minimum lot size of 70 feet. So the majority of these lots are all 70 feet wide. There are 174 lots. We are proposing 6 home plans. The average sale price will be $313,000. The average home size will be 2,134 square feet. And the average home site or lot is 70 by 122. We've had a few hurdles with this project. We wanted to make this a win-win. As everybody understands, the east side of Airport Road is a very dangerous ditch. And I think it has been, I don't want to put words in your mouth, I actually, with my involvement with Lennar, I came into this project after it had already started. So I'm a little green as far as the conversations and the meetings that took place prior to my employment with them a little over 6 months ago. But the way that we are proposing to solve the safety issue along Airport Road is to fill that ditch in and relocate it east and west across the property. And that's what you see in front of you. In order to do that, it's a very costly improvement, touching just about the $2 million mark. We were able to save some money by relocating it and keeping it on site. If we were to fill that in and go purchase the mitigation, the wetlands elsewhere, that would have been about another $900,000. As we were penciling the feasibility and calculating our funds on this project, we were trying to decide how we can establish this, how we can pay for this and still make the project attractive to our corporate headquarters and our business. We decided that if we were able to move the sanitary sewer outside of the roadway and save on that backfill, that sand compacted backfill, put the sanitary in the parkway, that would save us about $750,000 to $800,000 that we could apply to this mitigation, enhance this, and beautify it. That conversation took place amongst my superiors and some of your staff members in August of 2020, in which we received a verbal go-ahead. It's my understanding that that has surfaced again in the staff comments why our sanitary is proposed outside of the impervious surface. That's the reason why. Not only do we have that hurdle, but we also have the jurisdiction of Robbins Ditch. Excuse me. In September of 2020, Porter County had jurisdiction of Robbins Ditch along Airport Road and along the north side of Robbins Road. Working very diligently with the Porter County Drainage Board and your staff and your Drainage Board, we were successful with receiving the transfer of that jurisdiction from Porter County to the city of Portage. We felt that was a necessity, so we keep all the government agencies as yourself and not have other conflicting or reviewing situations during the subdivision process. So now Portage owns and has jurisdiction over that ditch. Porter County, just like any county, Lake County, there's a statute of an easement that goes along with that ditch, and it's defined as 75 feet from the top of bank. When that ditch left Porter County, that easement did not come with it. However, it's my understanding that Portage has the same easement. How that easement works is that the ditch looks like this, and the edges of this podium are your top of bank. 75 feet from either side of that, you would have an easement for future maintenance, so on and so forth. That statute with the county side of things talks about reductions of that easement, and it should not be reduced any more than remaining to be 25 feet in width on one side. We have easement reductions here, we have easement vacations, we have an additional planning. We're proposing to the north an outlot which either meets or supersedes the 25 feet, and that'll be turned over into an outlot which will be blanketed easement with drainage and utilities that are with rights to the city of Portage, but we will own that through the HOA. So you will not own it, have to maintain it, but you will have rights to access that ditch to the north. If for some reason you needed to access this ditch outside of that outlot, you can always get it from Robbins Road as well. On the east side of Airport Road, that same 75-foot easement from the top of Bank resides there. And in addition to that, back in the mid-90s, a 100-foot easement was dedicated to the city of Portage for maintenance of that ditch. And it's my understanding that that was dedicated because at one time there was a thought of putting a 36 or 42-inch pipe in that ditch and filling that in order to widen Airport Road. Fortunately, this development, what it brings to your city, is it wipes all that out. We're going to redirect that ditch, fill that in, widen Airport Road, and most importantly, remove the safety issue. The question is, how do we go about vacating those easements and allowing the new easements to take place? We're still working very diligently with your staff and your council, and I believe that we're going to have to be in front of your stormwater board to seek that vacation and to seek the platting of the new outlots. However, we would rather have your blessing first so that we could go to them. We just figured that would be the best chain of command of how to handle that. So if we're fortunate enough to receive a primary plat approval this evening, we would ask that it would be contingent upon receiving the stormwater board's blessing on the easement relocation, as well as the sanitary board with the sanitary relocation outside of the impervious surface. I'm not sure if both of those could be handled here this evening, Mr. McClure. If they could, that would be great, but if not, we're very patient and we are willing to approach them after our primary plat approval. We have also worked very diligently on the staff comments. I think we've gone back 3 times. There is nothing in that report that we feel we cannot adhere to, and we're willing to cooperate with everything. And I think the most latest one was last Friday. It's in green from Manhard Engineers, which again, Brad Moore is with us this evening. And any approval this evening, we would be in acceptance of having it contingent upon satisfying any outstanding T's that aren't crossed or I's that are not dotted, and we handle that in-house. We're very anxious to get started on this project. We would like to break ground as early as April 1st and continue to work with the Army Corps, mitigation. All this, again, will be owned by the HOA. It'll be improved, monitored by the HOA and its affiliates of Lennar, but you will also have easements that are dedicated to the city of Portage for any type of access that you might need there. I do have our entire staff here. I'm willing and able to answer questions related to the engineering, to the concept of how we came up with the layout, as well as a product that Lennar is proposing to build within the community itself. So with that, I'll open up any questions that you may have.
First, I'm going to open the public hearing.
Sure.
I now open the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Planning Commission. Reverend Michael Keeper, 5455 Clem Road here in Portage. I figured to come up this time perhaps to catch y'all off guard. I do believe this development is good for Portage and appreciate the hard work that has gone into it, into this so far. I did want to speak specifically about the portion of Airport Road north of Monda, which is labeled as part of Outlot A. My question is more for the city representatives, Kurt and our new city engineer. I do apologize. We have not met, so I'm not sure what your name is. One of the gray areas for an environmentalist like myself with a record for going kind of against developments in order to protect wetlands is around the issue of safety. This old farm ditch along Airport Road, as has been noted, is in the presentation, and in my opinion, poses significant safety concerns along this growing corridor in our city. That outweighs, in my my opinion, my personal love for wetlands, even man-made ones like this ditch. Most of the ditch is being relocated to allow much of the entire length of Airport Road to be at a suitable width, all but this small portion north of Monda, which from the developer's perspective I agree with. Why would they incur the cost if it's not required? So my question is for our city representatives. What effect would the approval of these plans have on the future effort for the city to widen that last remaining section of Airport Road? Would the cost as a separate mitigation with IDEM or aspects of their stormwater calculations for this development that would preclude this section ever being widened to the width for the rest of Airport Road? And, you know, if the answer is yes, I wanted to see if the city explored taking on the cost of this additional mitigation in order to prove the overall functionality of this growing and vital corridor in our city. I just don't want the city to miss out on opportunity along Airport Road if this is the only chance that we have to fix it. And personally, I would find it helpful if Kurt could walk us through the entire section of Airport Road and talk specifically about road widths, number of lanes, and since our mayor campaigned on a sidewalk promise, the location of sidewalks for our children to access the high school. My only request for the developers, and this is perhaps a public safety concern, is that we already have a Roosevelt Avenue in Portage. I did notice there was a Roosevelt Street on the plans. So to alleviate any confusions for our first responders, fire, and police, I would ask that they would consider changing the name of Roosevelt Road to something not used elsewhere in the city. But as a resident of this city, I'm excited about the growth of this residential development and what it offers, and look forward to seeing them break ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak for the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? Is there anybody here to speak against the petitioner? If not, I close the public hearing. And then we'll go ahead and, Kurt, would you like to address Reverend's questions that he has?
I wouldn't mind. I'm not sure I heard exactly everything that he said, but I believe he spoke about Airport Road lighting.
Yes.
Well, that's, right now there's no plan to widen that. However, in the future, with closing up the ditch, it gives the opportunity to do that. I mean, it's not closed,
Okay.
sidewalks are one of those issues, and I believe the petitioner would like to seek a waiver for that. But the planning commission certainly can address the sidewalks, because
I think one of the other questions was why did we stop now I just lost the words he used. Why did we not take that mitigation all the way down to the beginning of the Sandalwood, north of Monda? Correct?
take the what? Take the storm sewer north of Monmouth? In their design, that they're talking about this outlot. See, okay?
I think we're confused with the question.
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, I could probably kind of clarify that
Okay.
with you if I may.
Okay,
I think,
yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, she's referring to the mitigation, how it stops short of the north property line.
Correct.
So we're only filling in 1,400 feet of the ditch and leaving the remaining almost where it starts to bend. There's several reasons for that.
Okay.
First and foremost, the road itself is still being improved with curb and widening. We're able to get it in there. But that part of the ditch is staying there. One, aesthetics for lots 1 through 3, but that's not the main purpose. Army Corps, anybody who has worked with them understands there's a big stipulation from 1,400 feet to 1,500 feet. 1,500 feet would have put this probably another 2 years out, and it probably would not have made it economically feasible to mitigate it east and west the way we're doing it. So we are able to come in here, still satisfy the safety issue, still provide the curb and gutter out here, but only this portion of the ditch will be filled in, and this will still remain natural the way it is. That's what you're looking at there.
Okay.
Now, I apologize, I should have passed this out sooner. You guys only have black and whites. With your
Correct.
permission, I'd like my colleague Jessica to hand out
Thank you.
color copies of what you have on the easel. And with that, she's going to pass out our landscape plan, which focuses on the mitigation, the plantings, as well as our entrance sign. I know everybody likes to see what the entrance is going to look like. We're kind of hanging our hat. Lennar's hanging their hat on a community in Northwest Indiana named Rose Garden in Cedar Lake. And the sign itself is based off of that. It'll kind of mimic that. You can also look at that on our website, just to kind of give you an idea of what that monument will feel like and look like. And the last topic that I have on the ditch itself, as we're continuing it east and west and we go north, we were able to keep all of that on our property, so the entire Robbins Ditch will be constructed west of our east property line. And what you have in front of you as far as the conceptual plan, the color plan, as well as the landscape plan, page 8 of 10 on the landscape plan shows our entrance sign. Pages 1 through 5 discusses the home site plantings. And then as you get through 6 through 10, you'll start seeing the amenities with the outlots, the park, the mitigation itself.
So there will be pathways through here?
Correct.
Okay. And those are the clear?
Yes. And that'll all be owned and maintained by the HOA, again with easements that are giving the city of Portage the rights to enter if need be.
And you said there will be curbs on airport
Yes.
sidewalks?
So the sidewalk issue on Airport Road has come up in several of our entitlements through the Planning Commission, I believe, with you guys, as well as the BZA and the council. When the thank you, by the way, for the favorable recommendation. When we got to the council, they also brought up the fact on if sidewalks were going to go in or not. We would prefer not to put them in, but if it's something that we must do, we'll do it. At the time, we discussed with the council during our rezone that we would construct a crosswalk here and get the pedestrians across the street and utilize this sidewalk on the west side. I believe we feel that it's safer. Our engineers feel that it's safer. It has come up in your comments. There was a dollar amount proposed, cash in lieu. There's also a cash in lieu along Robbins Road that was discussed on the review comments. Again, we would rather focus on just improving loop and airport and allowing the pedestrians to cross the street and utilize the sidewalk on the west side. But we're here to discuss that in more detail if you feel it's necessary.
Gina?
I want to sound rude, but you said earlier something about solving the safety issue with airport. The sidewalks is definitely would be, I feel, in my opinion, a safety issue. Because if I am not mistaken, there's sidewalks to both the south and the north. on that east side of airport, correct? And it
Yes.
being so close to the high school, you're gonna have that many families wanting to move in here, and those families are gonna have kids that go to the school. And you would want, it's safety-wise, I think, very much on the sidewalks on the east side there.
Yeah, like I said, we're not opposed to it. If it's something that this body is requiring, we'll work with that and make it happen.
Kurt, could you kind of Kurt?
My understanding is that it's the.
Oh, wait, one second. If we put sidewalks in, how would that affect if we ever widened Airport Road? Would we put them further east?
When you say widen Airport Road, are you talking about lane?
I'm not sure, but everybody kind of talks about it, but I know we have nothing in plans.
Yeah, I mean, nothing is planned, there's no large right of way, other than if they were going to improve it to have a bike lane, just talk about that. So, yeah, you're going to widen Airport Road or something like that.
Okay.
But, with taking care of that ditch area along there, that gives the opportunity to put the sidewalk in.
Right.
That connectivity.
Right. Austin?
Connectivity to the subdivision to the north.
I was going to clarify.
Down the wood and then, north to the trail.
My understanding is the board of works recommending a waiver if they're already not on the sidewalk.
That would be correct.
Have you guys already gone to the board of works, or is that in the, no pun intended, in the works, or is that something you're planning to go after this is all settled?
So
Why, I guess the question, why not get that first and then come to us so that we know what it's gonna be one way or the other?
That was one of our questions with the sidewalk, and the sidewalk came up with the reviewing comments. That was definitely one of our questions. What comes first here, the chicken or the egg? Do we go to the stormwater? We were trying to figure out if we need to go to the stormwater board, the sanitary board, and it felt like with the direction we were getting that we needed to come here first and seek your direction where to go. So that's the reason why we're asking for any type of approval to be contingent upon any other in-house or specific agency approval as well. If the sidewalk required a waiver, we would definitely have to seek that waiver. But again, it's not if you wanted to put a sidewalk in, we'll put it in. I have our engineer here to speak a little bit more detail on how that sidewalk would look on Airport Road if it were to go in. This is Brad Moore.
Good evening.
Hi, my name's Brad Moore with Maynard Consulting. We're the civil engineer on the project. One of the things that I think is a little confusing is the whole description of what's happening north of Monda. In the pursuit, and Todd briefly mentioned, in the pursuit of an Army Corps permit, the maximum you can have with the permit is 1,500 lineal feet of impact.
Okay.
Most of the time, that mitigation is a hard, like let's just say Portage wanted to do that. You'd have nowhere to mitigate for other than buy credits. Those credits would total close to $1 million for 1,500 feet. So what we've done is maximize, because the channel starts at the ditch starts at the south, we went as far as we could to the north under a permit and mitigated it all for on-site. To be able to widen exactly how the other side of the road was from Monda all the way down along our frontage. North of Monda, we still have the ability to do somewhat of an XL lane, but it should be noted that Airport Road is currently almost 3 lanes wide at that location. You're never going to have two lanes in each direction with that amount of right-of-way. So when you look at the overall aerial of the and it's actually on the land plan. If you look all the way up to the next intersection north, Airport Road is fully widened in that area, a 3-lane section, which would allow for a designated left turn lane onto the next street, which doesn't exist right now. Is there a stoplight there? I'm not familiar with. Okay, but if
Stop
future
sign.
improvements, that Airport Road is wide enough to have a northbound, southbound lane full and a designated left turn lane. Okay, and when you taper
You'll see a lot of times Department of Transportations will have this big runway of a road, and they'll have 2 lanes, and then the center striped in yellow. Right? It's just dead space. Nobody ever uses it. It's not
Right.
landscape. We're only talking about feet here, but what that feet does, let's say 2 or 3 feet short right at the Monda from having the same cross section. What we came up with, if you push that 3 feet, you're actually over the creek and 3 foot in the air, okay, of naked air. So our solution is we'll keep the cross section from Monda to the property line the same, but we'll saw cut it, we'll make it a nice joint, and we'll add a barrier curb, okay? And that barrier curb can actually be extended. It doesn't have to be 6 inches. Sometimes they're slightly higher. But what that is it protects cars from veering off. They'll get a nudge. I'm not saying that they can't go over that. That's not what the purpose is. But the main point is that once you have the curb there, that ditch starts to drop down, okay? There's no room. It's impossible to put a sidewalk there. It has 3 lanes of traffic with that middle dead space, and we have a designated turn lane, left turn, into our site. And the tapers are back to normal, so there's 15.5 feet, almost 16 feet on each side, with no need for a turn lane until you get up to the next intersection. So with all the improvements done, really the thing it's not permittable at this time is to put a sidewalk from Monda to the north property line. The south property line, the apartment complex, there's no sidewalk they stop at their entrance. And it's because all the stormwater discharges from their entrance to our property line and funnels into the start of this channel, okay? So to put a sidewalk there, number one, it's in the right of way, but that would all have to be piped underground, and it's not on our property. So putting a sidewalk from Lute south is a sidewalk to nowhere, which creates an area where you have right now. So our solution, we've kind of worked with staff a little bit, is at this point up here, the north point where the sidewalk goes to nowhere, and it actually faces a guardrail and a 10-foot drop down into that ditch, is that we come up with some signage, which we lean on the city for. Apologize if I keep saying town, the city, to have them cross over, okay? And I agree, the people that live over here, they want to go, they're headed to the school, right? Well, eventually they got to cross the street to get to that school. So getting any foot traffic that's here with proper signage and improving that sidewalk to not be a dead end, but to be a 90-degree reroute, to press the curb to make it handicap accessible on both sides, okay, would take care of people coming down and give them a safe passage. Because this stretch of sidewalk is down the road. So with that said, if that is the true case, okay, at this point, the sidewalk from here to here would only be utilized for people within this community, which have sidewalks to get to these specific locations. So having the people in this community have crosswalks to an already established sidewalk system on the correct side, the safe side of the school, eliminates another section of sidewalk that we don't have any control over. So putting all this frontage sidewalk in, it's still going to lead to nowhere, and they're going to have to cross the street in both situations. So again, we kind of explained it to staff and drew up some sketches, but short of having a full Army Corps permit and $1 million extra for mitigation and construction, this was our best option to satisfy public safety.
Thank you, Brett. It's hard to believe that a couple 100 foot of sidewalk would kill the deal, but like you said, it's another $1 million of of mitigation, which we'd have to go to the bank for, because we usually have room for it on site.
It seems like, so just for the record, like I get what you're saying exactly about why I'm concerned about the sidewalk on that side, but it does seem either way, it'll still have to go to a separate body. Like if we were to go ahead and approve, it still has to go to the board of works. What happens hypothetically, if we then if the okay board of works is not going to be okay on the sidewalk thing, basically, that's not something they gotta come back and redo. I mean, that's just they put a sidewalk in, right? That's not something that really is gonna back across that.
I spoke to Chip about that section, so that might be problematic.
Because I guess that's the, if that's the question, is what happens if for some reason we don't get the sidewalk, approval post us, what does that do to the plan?
But it would be, if you made the motion, you would make the motion with the assumption that you would get the Board of Works waiver.
Right.
If they didn't give that waiver, they would then be required to put the sidewalk in.
Right.
So then the plan would have to change, and they would have to, they wouldn't necessarily have to come back here, because the contingent, if you were to do that, the contingent would be.
I guess that's the question, is that would it need a contingency versus just we do it with the assumption? It's not, because I feel like putting a contingency saying that they have to get the sidewalk waiver, especially if not everybody is necessarily on the same page about the sidewalk not being there. I just want to make sure that that was.
Well, and I was, just to be clear, I was making, if you made the motion, you'd be making it based upon the assumption they're going to get it.
Right.
Or the contingency that they're going to get it, because if they don't get it, then they still got to meet the code here to put it in. That's all I meant.
So to just add on to that point, if we were to receive a favorable approval this evening contingent upon satisfying the Board of Works with a sidewalk waiver, and if we were unsuccessful receiving that, the other contingency on satisfying the T's and dotting the I's with your in-house staff review, that would then fall under that. We would then show that sidewalk and we just go to your engineer.
Correct.
What I foresee.
There was, during the public comment, and if it got resolved, there was a question about the road being Roosevelt Avenue or Roosevelt Road. I think that's already been settled, or there's a plan to settle it?
Yeah, there's a plan. We've got, it's funny, 26 years of doing subdivisions. The hardest thing is picking the names of the streets.
Right.
And I've done anything from using your names, which you guys are more than welcome. Everybody wants the street name after them. We'll make it happen. You let me know. Kurt put his head down.
Didn't you have an Abbey Road?
One street right.
What's that?
Didn't you have an Abbey Road?
Jessica picked the name, didn't you? Did you pick the name?
Oh, yeah. I like that one.
You like that one?
It's philosopher.
I did a Clevin Lane years ago. It's the worst thing I ever did. Horrible. Sounded good at the time.
Okay, so they still need to go to the stormwater and the sanitary board. And when do those meet?
I'm not quite sure when those boards meet. That's, I'm getting more acquainted that I have to know that, but I don't know that right off the top of my head. But
Okay.
they do need sanitary board approval, and they do need stormwater board approval. Currently, Christopher Burke is doing the engineering for both those items. There are several items, as you can see by the list, there are several items that are still open. I think they're waiting for some engineering comments or sort of information. When that gets, certainly we'll have that as a staff when they respond, because those are still open items on our list. But they still, the Plan Commission can't grant that approval for those two boards.
Correct, absolutely.
So what is it that you're trying to, so first, again, I think this is awesome, like I just can't stress that enough, but I gotta kind of contain that excitement until I can, the question here. You're seeking the primary plat approval here at this meeting.
what is it you're trying to accomplish with that primary plat approval?
Sure, yeah, I
Prior to, assuming that we grant it, you're trying to get the primary plat approval prior to getting the okay from the Board of Works, I'm sorry, and then from the stormwater. What is it you're trying to get done between now and getting their approval that makes this
Sure. And
important for you?
I appreciate your positive comments too. We're very proud of it as well. More so, we're proud that a competitor was unable to make it work, and with the vision of relocating the ditch and the mitigation on site and saving.
That's awesome.
That's what really made this happen. And
I agree.
we couldn't have done it without your help and the staff. So again, to circle back, what we're after this evening, and we're being very cooperative with the step-by-step process. A lot of municipalities, we run things parallel, and I think I might have ruffled some feathers when I called Kurt my first day and said, can I do the primary plat and the rezone and all this stuff together and make one contingent upon the other? And so we've been very patient. I wanted to be in front of you last month. We had our engineering in front of you that would have put us in front of you in February, but we were asked to wait until March, and here we are. So it would be nice to receive a primary plat approval this evening, contingent upon satisfying the sanitary board, contingent upon satisfying the stormwater board, and contingent upon satisfying the Board of Works on the sidewalk. And if we're unable to receive the sidewalk waiver, then we would then design that sidewalk on the east side of Airport Road and present it to your engineer for approval in-house. Okay. And then obviously, I'm sure most of your approvals are contingent on satisfying any outstanding review comments in-house. So our urgency here is to start breaking ground on this mitigation ditch relocation. And the reason being is we have to get it constructed and in time to plant before the fall of 2021. If we lose the planting season, that is a major game player with the mitigation. So we'd like to get those plantings in and get them established so we can preserve that area.
So you're looking to break some ground and start the digging?
Yes, and then also, once we leave here tonight, it opens up the permitting with this IDEM and the state, and that's a long process, 30 to 45, and even with COVID, it could be 60 days. So that's the reason for the, I'm not trying to slam this down anybody's throat, I'm just trying to keep it moving forward.
Primary plat approval would also mean you'd have the ability to start constructing roads, at least under normal circumstances. Would that start as well, or you'd make?
We would like to start our dirt work. Obviously, the dirt is the dirt, so we obviously would like to start the dirt work. The sanitary, I'd be willing to hold off until we had, satisfied the sanitary board and satisfied the stormwater board. But we would like to at least get our survey staking going, our erosion control going. I mean, by the time we get all that, we should be through these other.
Just getting through those permits.
Right.
And just to be clear, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but before we broke ground, sanitary would have signed off, stormwater would have signed off in your mind as you're laying out your plan.
And you have, before we're allowed to break ground on sanitary, you have to sign the permit. The sewer allocation letter requires your town engineer, your city engineer to sign anyway, so we wouldn't be able to break ground on that until we had that signature.
Okay.
Question. I'm trying to remember our November meeting. There was going to be a traffic signal light put in at Loop Road, is that correct?
No, there was a proposed pedestrian crossing.
Just a pedestrian crossing, no light?
No light. Stop sign. A four-way stop sign.
A four-way stop sign on Loop Road.
And we agreed to that at the council level.
So, but if you put sidewalks in from Mondale down to Loop, that's a possibility.
That's a possibility.
That can be done.
But as our engineer was saying, it's really only going to service the residents within the community itself.
That's correct.
But it's limited from here to here, where they would already have that connectivity through here, four-way stop, and they can safely cross down the school.
They have no way of walking that way, so, I don't know, is there any access, I guess through this subdivision then, is there any walking access to Airport Road?
Yes.
Okay. But through the subdivision also? There's sidewalks all throughout the subdivision. So someone on the far side, away from Airport Road, their kids could walk all the way across, and if they're at the farther end, or the northern end, they would effectively have to walk through the subdivision to get to Loop Road.
Yes. So there's sidewalks on both sides of the road, just like any normal community, but we also have the amenity where we have the pathway along the relocated ditch, where that could be a nice change or a choice of path to take to Loop Road as well. It all connects together. And we are also preserving the tree line to the south. And as I mentioned in my open comments, we are able to keep all of the mitigated ditch on the west side of our property line without disturbing this property to the east.
I'm just trying to think, because I know people will do the simplest and easiest, straight line, point A to point B, that's what they're going to do. Kids will walk in ditches, will walk in streets, some people will, adults will too, but kids are notorious for it. And I'm just wondering if, if they're, that section, the northern section, those houses, or the top half, close, at least that one road going across to Monda, right, Monda?
Monda.
Yeah, Monda. They're going to walk across, they're going to either cross Airport Road to get to the other side where the sidewalks, okay? Or they're going to walk along Airport Road to get up to Loop Road where they can cross, all right? And I just see that as a dangerous situation, I guess, in some respects. I just kids be kids.
Would it be possible to have a crosswalk at Monda as well as?
But there's no stop sign. There's no way to stop the traffic. It's a crosswalk.
And that's something that you see as far as like in bigger cities. But if it's a safety factor, we actually have the straightening of even though there's no stop, but it lets the public know that this is a crossing. So we had that on the plan. We were asked to remove it. But the one thing, and we're open for suggestions, is that this sidewalk that dead ends into the north property right now, we don't want people to think that, listen, the sidewalk just ends. Even if we had to do some type of little curvature, that introduces maybe not a 90, but even have some landscaping in front of that. It's in the public right of way, but something that says, listen, you can't go any further than this at this time. You need to cross safely across the street. Because right now, they go here and then they just cross the street. There's no crosswalk or depressed curb or sidewalk leading them that way. They just stop. So they're going to walk in the road. But if they're introduced to a sidewalk system that dead ends into a depressed curb, has a crosswalk, filter them that way. That was our vision, is to take this situation and turn it into a direction.
Well, I understand that part. I was just thinking of the subdivision itself.
Yeah, so the subdivision, I think, an explanation-wise, let's just say, you can pick any lot here. There's a full internal sidewalk system that will take you to this, or it will take you to this at any point. It's got a full interior sidewalk system on both sides of the road, including a central walking trail. So if you live here, if you wanted to go to Loop, you can go to Loop. If you want to go to Monda, you can go to Monda. Same way with this spot. You can pick and choose both sides of the road.
In theory, kids should be able to cross safely. In theory, kids should be able to cross safely.
Yeah, you would cross, the only people, when you're in this neighborhood and you want to get to the school, you're going to cross at these four-way stops or this designated crosswalk. Really, the concern that we have is the people that live on this side of Airport Road, not having the same pedestrian crossing, and we're creating them by introducing them to the crosswalk system.
So
That's a third point you're looking at, crossing Airport Road is what you're saying.
If I was the Planning Commission this evening, you guys, your body is the planners. The Board of Works is the Board of Works. They have a checkbook. But you guys are the planners. I would feel that I would take the pride as a planner. I would make a recommendation or with your motion and just make that decision and say, Todd, why don't you put this four-way stop in? Make it safe. This currently dead ends, like Brad said. Fix this, And then that recommendation would go to the Board of Works. And if you wanted this improved too with a stop sign, four-way stop, I mean, we would be willing to do that. We feel it would just make more sense because of the fact that it's just not going to go anywhere because of this hardship. And unfortunately, that's exactly what it is. It's a hardship. I wish we could fill it in and correct it, but we just can't. And it just has to do with the Army Corps restrictions.
We have that issue to the south as well.
So that, in my opinion, that's probably the decision that probably should be made with a motion this evening, and then that motion would then be presented to the Board of Works. Hopefully that would carry some water.
Am I hearing you correctly? You're recommending that a stop sign be put on Monda?
If we required it.
If we wanted it.
If we required, they're not asking to do it. But only if we want it.
We feel it should be in Loop, for sure.
Approval processes?
Yeah, I think that's a little premature with that. I don't think that's our initial thought. I'd rather.
Which is probably why your engineers had us take it out. We didn't have a stop sign there, but we had crosswalks.
I think that's a deeper discussion than what we're dealing with here. We can talk about it, but I certainly wouldn't want that to be part of a motion.
No, I was just basically saying that we would cooperate if you wanted
and
the
certainly
same type of intersection.
You know, that traffic, if it warrants it, you know, the Traffic Commission will review that site for.
You don't want another
installation of a
contingency.
sign.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't want to put traffic commission on
One last
there.
thing I wanted to add was the idea of timing, and just so you guys can get a picture. You know, we have the existing ditch that starts in this area, and it flows. We take flows from west of Airport Road. There's flows coming off all of it. In order to satisfy the permit with the state and the federal government, Army Corps, this, like Todd mentioned, has to be fully established. It's like thinking of it as a water hose. We can't introduce off-site or on-site flows to this until it's fully established, which means we can't fill in the Airport Road ditch and get rid of that until this is fully established and with the growing season limited in Illinois, the purpose of that.
Was there a traffic study done, not only traffic for vehicles, but traffic for the people in this area with the subdivision and crossing it? Was any study done other than coming to the city?
When a municipality does not require a traffic study,
I'm sorry, say it again.
When a municipality does not require a traffic study pursuant to their ordinance, we still rely on our engineers to study it in-house. So we did study it in-house, and that's when it was depicted that a stop sign would not hinder, and if anything, add safety due to the school location. And that's when the stop sign kind of came into play. But by all means, I'm not stating that one should be at Monda as well. I was just saying if you wanted a four-way crossing there, we would be willing to improve it the same as we're doing at Lute. But right now, the sidewalk will not, it just goes north of, or the sidewalk at Lute would give the pedestrian the vision that they could cross here at the stop sign. So it is an improved intersection at Lute and Airport Road.
Do we have, does anybody on the council have any idea what the population is doing now along Airport Road, where that one area we're talking about, and you have all the other houses in that that section, that subdivision? What are they doing to cross the street at this point? Are they going down to Robbins Road and make the crossing? Are they just jaywalking effectively, or do we even know?
Yeah, I mean, you could go down there at any time during school time, and
Right.
kids cross wherever they want to cross.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, I mean, that's just the, I mean, all of us drive down that road. We try to stay away at 235.
Right.
But unfortunately, sometimes we have to be there. My shop is right down the street from there, and I'll tell you, it's like the little, you're smashing little beavers, like you're just trying to dodge them as they're going across the road.
I understand. Now, interesting enough is, I don't know if you've ever been to Salt Lake City, Utah. They have what's called the flag system. Blew me away. But I've been there enough times, and I'm amazed how well it works. And simply have every crosswalk has flags, these red flags that literally, on one post, there's a 6-inch piece of PVC bolted to a post, all right? And there's a whole bunch of flags in it. So on a stick, red flag. On the other side is another 6-inch piece of PVC, okay? And other flags there. And what you do is, and by law, okay, the cars have to do it, and they do it very well. You grab a flag, and you walk, and you wave it, and you start walking around. Now, there's streets in Utah are 75 feet across. And the reason behind that is, back in the day, in order to have a street in Utah, or Salt Lake City, you had to be able to turn a double team of oxen with wagon and be able to make a U-turn. Okay. So I've been there, anyway, so you learn this stuff when you're in a motel and you have nothing to do a lot of times, okay? So these goofy flags, you walk across and you start waving, and all the cars stop, because it's a city and state law, okay, that you must stop. So, and all these they have the cross, they have the lines and everything else, and you have to walk between them. But you go to flag and you go across, and these cars are zipping down. They're doing 35, whatever the speed limit is in the city. They're zipping along like we do at Airport Road. As soon as you pull the flag out and you start walking on, they all stop. Wow. Okay, because it's law. Okay, and it works extremely well, as far as I can see. At least the many times I've been there, at least 10 or 12 times I've been there.
We need a picture.
So it's standard. It's also standard practice in a couple other cities I've been in, but I can't remember where. I just remember Salt Lake City being. Their streets are so massively wide. They're literally as wide as from here to here, okay? They're at least that wide. They're 75 feet across, minimum. Or 90, I forget what it is. But anyway, 75 hits me in the head. But they have a flag. You start walking across. And everybody stops. Nobody gets upset when they stop, because it's standard procedure. Been like that forever. Okay?
Wow, that's neat. I've never heard that.
So that's why all these things are popping in my head, because I'm concerned about this with the kids walking and everything else, especially the kids, because I almost hit 2 kids the other day. They absolutely did not look at me, and I was slowing down as I came up to them because I was watching them, and the kids did not. They were looking the other way, so traffic go away, and then they just started away, and I hit the horn, stopped. They looked at me, and I said, "Dude, you didn't look at me." You know, they simply did not look at me. All right, and I was going the other direction. They just weren't looking that way. And but I'm just concerned with no side, even though it's a short section of sidewalk. Okay, we have to have. I mean, I love the subdivision. Don't get me wrong. I really like this project. I think it's great for the city. Don't get me wrong, but I just want to make it to be right.
Yeah, what
right?
concerns
Even
me
there's
about
sections
it,
that we can't do. Hopefully, we'll get it addressed later with some funds or whatever. But at least we get it started.
Without it, you're concentrating all the pedestrian traffic at the intersection of Loop and Airport Road. With it, now you're opening up the possibility of children hanging out behind those houses along Airport Road.
The concern though is once you have a neighborhood there, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the concern is once you have once you have a neighborhood there and you've got more people living there, more kids living there, in a perfect world, they're going to do exactly what they're supposed to do, which is just follow the sidewalks to the proper spot. But I think some of them, just being kids, are going to run up the way they're not supposed to go. And then the other issue you got is people who are walking home, especially like to the Sandalwood. Is that the name of it? The one that's north of it?
Yes.
Kids think, oh, you know what, I'll just cross here, where there's already an intersection now at Loot and Airport, which I think is great, by the way, because I think it's going to help a lot of people get off Loot finally. But they'll cross there and then they'll just cut up through the non-existent sidewalk, and they shouldn't do that, and maybe there's ways to stop them from doing that. I just think if there's a way to address it beforehand, that's better than doing it without the sidewalk and hoping that they follow the rules, you know?
I just see it as if we don't have the sidewalks, even though it's not 100%, if we don't have it, then you turn around and look at it later when somebody does get hurt or whatever happens in that area, you said, well, now the city had a chance to put it in, and they didn't do it. Okay, and this happened because of it. Whereas when you put it in, and then the parents can say, or whoever says, or it can be, at least you tell the kids, and they know the sidewalk is there, and it's the opportunity to use it and go to the right points of crossing. Without it, there are no right points of crossing, because there's no sidewalk. Now it is just willy-nilly going across, and I ain't walking all the way down there. I'm not walking in the mud when the mud is there, when it's raining or the snow, because there's no way to plow it. I'm just not doing it, so I'm just going to go across.
Well, we're on the same page. And getting them to the right point is exactly. So right now, if it's a kid with a candy bar, the candy bar in our design is at Loot and Airport Road. If we were to put that piece of sidewalk in between Monda and Loot, now we got candy bars all up and down the east side of Airport Road, and now those kids have a reason to go there. Without the candy bars over there, hopefully they're not going to go, and they're going to go where the one big candy bar is at. Pardon my immature analogy, but you see what I'm saying? We're directed them.
I have no idea.
No, I understand what you're saying.
So right now we're directed them.
Sorry, you lost me, candy bar.
We're bringing them all to this point.
Gotcha.
If they follow mom and dad's rules and stay on the sidewalk, they're all coming right here. Four-way stop, now they can cross. If this were in, These kids are running out their back door, now they're on the sidewalk, they've got a good chance to cross, playing Frogger, which you're probably gonna have one or two, but I think you're gonna have more if the sidewalk's in. Because right now, it brings everybody right here to a four-way stop. That was our thought process when we designed it and went through all the due diligence.
I guess I see it the other way, because they're still gonna go out the back door and go straight across, and they have no place, because there is no sidewalk period. So that's actually gonna tell them, hey, I'm not going out, I'm just gonna go across, there's a sidewalk over there. It's not here.
I see what you're saying.
And I understand what you're stating regarding, the candy bar issue, but that's just primarily for those that live in that subdivision. I'm concerned with those, like you had stated, north of there from Sandalwood, or other kids coming from the trails.
We already have that issue, though.
If you look at
that issue exists. Right.
If you look at,
we're not asking you to.
No, I know, but the
Not
best
asking
solution, I mean, we can put this in, it's just, it won't serve it, except our community.
if you look at page 1 of 10,
Until this is mitigated for.
Right, but if you put it in now, it gives a better opportunity on top of that to get the rest of it mitigated and straightened out. Okay, because now it's a bigger issue. With nothing there at all, there's nothing there. And it's like, okay, why put it in? Why deal with that? We need to deal with this. So if we say no now, then why put the rest of it in?
Large sum of money for 500.
I'm not saying you're gonna do it. What I'm saying is at some point in time, it gives the city the opportunity to address it, whether with federal funds or anything we can come up with at some point in time, okay? Because now we have a sidewalk there, started, okay? And it's just a matter of finishing it. And I realize the expense and everything. I'm just saying, without it, it makes it more of a chance not for it to happen.
the other thought process was, as shown on page 1 of 10 of our landscape plan, we have heavy buffers through there as well. Again, I can't sit here and guarantee you somebody's not going to jump the shrubs and get on Airport Road, but it's also bordered with landscaping and our buffers.
You got people's backyards, to a certain extent, getting, if not actually interfered with, they're gonna feel like it if people are walking through there, probably.
So if I can very briefly try to get two words in. I think I probably disagree with a portion of our board here. My personal opinion, spending a lot of time there, the sidewalk between the two entries, in my view, is it's a non-issue because you have the sidewalk that serves the front of the houses, and in order to get to that sidewalk, you have to go through someone's backyard, or you have to go to the 2 points that are already the crosswalk anyways to get to those sidewalks. So it's dead concrete there, and I understand your point, absolutely, to go all the way through, but I think we create an inherent problem of the sidewalk ends, and we're expecting them to go 90 degrees this way. If not, they go into a 10-foot ditch.
Yeah.
Also on the south side, we would have to do the same thing, or they're going to go into a 10-foot ditch.
Right.
Unless they go through someone's yards, they have to go to the end point where they have to cross the street anyways. So I think Frogger was a very good analogy. If you have the sidewalk there, you're going to create a Frogger. But here's what I will say. The residents on that road are not going to be people walking through the yard. Right. You have to go to the end points of the crosswalks anyways to get to that. So you're not serving a purpose there. Additionally, I don't know if you know how much kids' shoes cost. We all have kids. They're not going to walk through the grass if there's no sidewalk there in the winter or in the summer months because their shoes are $300 and the girls are wearing high heels and they're just not going to go through the grass, especially if there's brush there. Now, that is my opinion and only my opinion, but I think we're focusing so much on the sidewalk that it is not this board's issue. You're gonna ask for whatever you're gonna ask for to whatever board you ask for. We need to address it as far as the plan.
Right.
But I think we're putting more risk by putting the sidewalk there than we are by not putting the sidewalk there, because you have to cross the street regardless if there's sidewalk there or not sidewalk there because of the south side of the property.
That's exactly the vision we had with it.
You hired?
What's that?
So name a street after you.
On a lighter issue, kind of like what happened with the road names, unless it's already in the landscaping plan, which I wouldn't think it would be, street lights and like signs, so like stop signs and things within the neighborhood. Has that been determined already, or is that still being worked on? And is there a way we can see that? the streetlights, like, so like in the neighborhood itself, and then also like the areas, so like looking at the map, like where they're gonna be.
All
stop
the
signs versus-
streetlights are proposed, they're on the plan, they follow your ordinance, they're NIPSCO aluminum lights. And then the street signage itself would be whatever your ordinance is as well. I don't know if we purchase them through you or if we use an outside contractor to come in and put them in, just have you guys approve them, and then we meet your text height and your signage height itself, but it would all meet your ordinance.
It was on comment 9 where it said that it needed to be provided and that they were looking at other communities to figure out where to put them, so I wasn't sure if that was.
As far as are you asking about a decorative?
Yeah. Well, what was in the comment? I think it was comment 9? Yeah. Similarly, there was the issue with the signage, or is that just the, maybe I misunderstood.
There's, the
Comment
comment
8
about the
also had to do with the
streetlights.
signage locations as well?
Yeah, so the street signs, other than what street you're on, those.
Yeah.
The two, I don't think there's any, there's T's, I don't think there's any designated.
There's no spot where anybody actually like stops
No.
like in the neighborhood?
Right. There's no, because the two in, we don't want them stopping on the two ends.
Okay.
But we can clear that up. There'll be what's missing from the plans at this point is the signage and the lighting plan. And the lighting plan was more of coordination. I know different cities and towns like the streetlights in different locations. So that's something that will be, work with staff. There's currently, just so you know, there's currently lights that illuminate both Monda, the T intersection of Monda and Loop. One will have to be relocated because it's in the way. But internal, if the ordinance states that they go at all full way intersections, whatever the ordinance says.
You're gonna just, go with that?
I mean, there'll be, when we resubmit, there'll be a plan that reflects that.
And just to take that one step further, I think you were referring to the actual post itself and how it was going to look, correct?
Say that again?
You were asking about the post itself and how it was going to look, correct?
Like the signage posts?
Yes, is that?
I mean, I suppose that's a concern. I was just asking if there were any actual spots in the neighborhood where there would be like a stop sign, and it sounds like the answer there is no.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And then the lighting would usually also go with NIPSCO, but it's every intersection and every 200 or 300 feet. Well, probably 400 to 600 feet in this case. But.
I was just trying to make sure we covered things that were in the comments that appeared to be either unfinished or still outstanding.
Thank you.
If there are no other comments, would somebody like to make a motion?
I have a question, Madam
Yes.
Chairman. I'm not sure where the commission is leaning to right now, but I just want to point out
Can
that-
you speak into your microphone?
On their plans, they're locating the sidewalk on the property. It's not in the right-of-way.
Say that again.
On their plans, they're proposing the sidewalks to be on the property,
I'm going to draw for you.
inside the property line,
So,
not in the right-of-way. That's a design standard. So they should be asking for a variance from the design standard to move the sidewalk out of the right-of-way.
the reason for that, and again, it was one of those, the sidewalk, the sanitary, and the storm, we were asking for direction which way to go. So you have a 50-foot right-of-way, and I'm going to draw this here, 50-foot right-of-way. Here's your center of your road, here's your back of curb, and your back of curb, okay? So this is your road itself. Typically, your sidewalk is within that right-of-way. And then from the back of the sidewalk to the back of your sidewalk would measure your 50-foot right-of-way. With the request to move our sanitary outside of the impervious surface to save on the backfill in order to pay for the relocation of Robbins Ditch, so we could widen Airport Road, we asked to move the sanitary into the parkway. The sanitary itself, where the sidewalk would be, if there's any future maintenance that the city ever had to do on that sewer, we're concerned that you'd have to tear up somebody's sidewalk. It wouldn't happen today, but it could be 10 years down the road, and the last thing a councilman wants to do is go tear up somebody's sidewalk. So we proposed to push the sidewalks out onto the property in an easement, and it'd actually give you a look of a wider road. It'd be 60 feet now. But that way, if you ever had to open up the sewers, you would not impact the sidewalks. And with the comments from the engineer, it sounds like that'll also go in front of the Board of Works to get that approval, sidewalk waiver. And I apologize that we're asking for that, because we were asking for that prior to being here, if that was something that this body approves. And then it sounds like Mr. Weaver just found out last week that it has to go in front of the Board of Works.
Okay.
So you have the sidewalk, you have the sanitary sewer, and then the stormwater.
Okay.
Would be the contingency.
And then there's still the stormwater stuff that's got to be addressed. Are there any concerns, or maybe this is more of a question for Kurt, but whoever can take it, basically that, because you're asking for us to give our approval, now contingent on it getting approved by everybody else, in the getting the approval, making adjustments that might be needed to get them to give you the clear, what are the odds that could impact, like what you guys got to do to the plan, that we're approving? Basically, like, I don't know, if there's a concern about, you work out with stormwater, you need to do this, but then it alters the design that we've already approved. Does it come back?
We don't foresee any design alters now. If for some reason the sanitary sewer was denied at the sanitary board, but the correspondence that we have with the communication that took place with the staff in-house back in August of 2020, I don't foresee that being an issue. So I see that just being a ministerial approval. Same thing with the ditch itself, because we're going to just basically take the easements and put them into outlots, and then give you easements over the outlots. And then the sidewalk thing, I don't think anybody could argue with that, because it's saving future damage because of the fact that we moved the sanitary from the road to the parkway. But we want to make sure the sidewalk is further out of the way. If you ever had to open up the sanitary, you can do it without impacting the sidewalk.
So Kurt, if it was something, just anything that came back from either the sanitary sewer, the stormwater, or the Board of Works, there's a chance it would have to go back to the BZA, but probably 90% would be there. So we still could take care of it.
Well,
We're not approving problems that come out of the
no, I don't think so.
Right.
Other than, I'm not sure if that would cause a material change in their design or, their plans that would affect your guys' thought process if you saw something.
If the sanitation did not get approved, that would alter.
Well, that would alter it.
Basically what that would do, and that would go where we're asking to be in-house with your engineer, and it would be your reviewing engineer. The sanitary would just move in, would move back in. But I don't see them doing that, because if that was the case, now the project is implausible, because we wouldn't be able to afford to relocate the ditch because of the backfill. And that was the reason for all the proactive phone calls with the staff in the beginning. I mean, we're rolling the dice, I understand that, but I believe that we have the support.
I guess, I think this is a great idea. I'm so excited about where this is going. I feel like I would feel a little bit better if this other stuff was more complete before we signed off, but if I'm just kind of being too, I don't know.
Well, plus they were delayed a month, so
Right.
they really should have been in front of us a month prior.
I think the other entities will say the same thing, so I think it's good that we're here first, so then they can say, okay, we got the Planning Commission's blessing, now we're only focusing on this one thing. We're
Right.
not sitting here approving something when the Planning Commission doesn't even know if they want 174 home sites. So I think that, Kurt had very good vision in saying, hey, Todd, do it step by step, go to the Planning Commission first, figure all this out, and then let's tackle these other issues.
Right.
As they come. And, the other thing, I don't want to tell you what you should be thinking of, but if I was in your shoes, I'd say, okay, oh my God, we're setting a precedence. you're not setting a precedence here, because the next developer that comes up and asks for it, well, did they have a $2 million hardship with the ditch? Did they have, were they able to solve the issue that we're solving on Airport Road? So you're not setting, in my opinion, you're not setting a precedence.
We have made approvals with contingencies, so
Right.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we generally do approvals, I mean, in the year I've been with the commission, we do approvals with contingencies, but with, what, 4 or 5 different, and there seem to be major contingencies here, that with that many, does one affect another one? I don't know at this point, which concerns me, because we have a lot of contingencies here. It seems usually it's just 1, maybe 2, and they're minor. They're not necessarily at this level. It seems that we have several things, and that concerns me.
Well, but would it change with these boards affect the plat approval? I don't think so.
Well, normally we're the last ones in line. Normally everything's done.
I agree with you.
You know, and that's the way it's supposed to work. Everything's supposed to be done. All the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and everything. And then they come to us and say, "Okay, here's what we got."
And with all due respect, I mean, we were trying to get those answers. We really were. And I understand you had
I understand what you're at,
administration
too.
changes and all that. I really think where we're at now is.
We want that, but, you know, and I understand that between COVID and a bunch of other things,
Right.
that really has hosed everybody in the world up, you know? It is what it is at this point, you know, it's just.
I guess the question is, how long are we expecting it to take for this to get approval from everybody else, such as?
Kurt's suggestion was 6 months.
And so, if it's gonna take 6 months, whether we approve it right now on our end or not, I guess I'm wondering what's the difference between it taking 6 months and then coming to one of our plan commission meetings immediately after?
6 months? No.
Was that what Kurt
No, just in a discussion that I had with Kurt.
Oh.
Madam President, if I could elaborate, yeah, we did have a discussion. However, you know, the sanitary board and the stormwater board, when you look at the stormwater board, you know, they're still looking at Corps of Engineer response and things like that. You know, those are stormwater issues. So probably when you think about that, you know, putting some time limit might not be the way to handle it, because their list at, you know, to get their stormwater
Right.
Is.
No, I'm fine. You suggested the 6 months.
Well, the reason
That was a first blush, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because if the reason why you're looking to get this approval is because you want to break ground as soon as possible on the work you need to do, I think it's very different if it's going to come like later this month. Well, then it's like, yeah, we've already got our end done. We're out of the way. A month from now, you don't have to wait until our April meeting, or if it takes a little longer, our May meeting. But if you're waiting until potentially, just to use that example, like September or October, I would be pretty sure that you could get those approvals and then line it up so that you could get to us pretty quickly.
Well, the one thing is, if he gets in, but he doesn't, if something changes us, if he goes in with our approval, contingent.
I think Kurt misunderstood.
I think I understood. I think I did.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Are you talking about your?
So my understanding is that if we were to approve this, it would be at a contingency that they can't start until they have the other approvals needed from Board of Works, possibly BZA, Stormwater. And I guess what I'm wondering is, how long do we expect it to be between now and when they get all those approvals that makes them able to start? Because I feel if it's a month to 2 months, I think it makes more sense to give the approval now, because that way they can get it done quickly and get going with the work as soon as they get those other approvals.
Permits applied for.
But to kind of go back to that concern about not just precedent, but kind of the way we do it and setting up kind of this standard that I know that we've been working on for some time to get to, if it's going to take more like August, September for them to get those approvals, I think it would make more sense to.
Then they're shot out of water because they can't get
So I think it matters.
the plants in.
So us knowing a general idea of how long it's going to take to get those other approvals worked out, or at least get the situation figured out with.
I'm not sure why that makes a difference.
Okay, let's circle back here. Okay. What does this project bring to Portage? This project.
Let Kurt answer.
I think when I misunderstood, if you're looking for the contingent approval, I think that's what we're asking. Is that correct?
I was thinking, yes, that there'd be a contingent approval. Yeah.
Right. Well, you can put a requirement for your contingent approval of the Plan Commission. And if it was 6 months, yes, you can do that.
If, I believe what he's answering is that if you approved it contingent, is there a day out in the future that that contingency goes away? That's what I believe he's answering. So you could put a 6-month or 8-month window on a contingent motion. But what I think you're actually asking is, if we gave the contingent approval tonight, how long would these other things take to get them moving? And because if it was farther down the road, why are we rushing? If it's closer to present, what can they get done?
Right.
Assuming the engineers from stormwater and these two agree, from our stormwater and their stormwater, and the sanitary board approves their sewer move, and the Board of Works does whatever they do with the sidewalk, we could be within 60 days of them having their approvals.
And they can start surveying, they can start flagging.
Apply
they
for
can start
permits.
Now, it may be longer, it may be shorter, but there isn't a magic.
Sure.
They're 6 months away from doing anything. Some of that depends on the nitty-gritty between the engineers, but there's that possibility.
The last thing you want to hear is the hurdles that I have in-house. The hurdles I have in-house are getting corporate to approve this, getting all the funds allocated to make this all happen, Army Corps engineers to make this all work so it's a 2021 project, and not to mention I got a guy out there who wants his money for his property, and I got 1 more month to make that happen. If I don't leave here with that, the last thing I'm going to do is throw a threat at you, but the project goes away. And we'll absorb it, it'll be okay, we'll move on, but we're right here. Right. And all due respect, I understand there's been administration change, but we've been asking these questions. I have some emails. Where do we go? How do I get the sanitary? How do I get the storm? The easements, all that. It's nobody's fault. It's new to everybody. I think we've all worked very good, very well. I've got nothing but the utmost respect for Kurt's office. And I've got 2 more LOIs out in Portage. I can't wait to bring the other projects here. This one, we are at the 11th hour. We're there. And
that's why this is...
The way to walk out of here is with an approval contingent upon sanitary, storm, sidewalks, and that allows me to get the ducks rolling. I can close on the property, and then we'll just cross the T's, dot the I's with your staff, and go from there. That's
So what you're saying is that by putting the contingencies that we're talking about putting on, you'd be able to start ordering the things you need to order so that it's all set up in time for it to go. That doesn't mean that the contingency allows you to start digging or doing things that you then gotta like undo if there's a problem later. Yeah, that's what I'm making sure.
Because stormwater has to sign off.
You got to sign off on everything anyway. It just allows us to not have to come back.
Sure.
Any other questions? Can I ask for a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the primary plat approval contingent upon satisfying stormwater, sanitary, and Board of Works sidewalk exemption.
And review comments.
And pardon?
And review comments, not to tell you.
Oh,
Okay.
and
the review comments.
And review comments.
that's in the big packet. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Can we add to that motion?
I'm not going to add to that, no. Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. I will open up for discussion just to hear your comment. Doesn't mean we're going to change the motion.
Does that motion include the putting in sidewalks along Airport Road?
Yes, that's going to the Board of Works.
Okay, it's not just the
No.
sidewalks inside the subdivision, we're talking about the one on Airport.
On Airport.
It doesn't.
No, that was contingent upon the sidewalk exemption.
Oh.
Yes, he's talking about the sidewalk exemption because of the right-of-way, I think, or whatever it's called, the right-of-way, where they're at inside the subdivision.
With the storm, with the sanitary sewer being moved.
Yeah, so your reviewing comments said if we eliminate the sidewalk on Airport Road because your ordinance requires it, that requires a waiver, and also the fact that we're moving the sidewalks from the interior skeletal system out to the outside of the right-of-way, that also requires the Board of Works approval. So when you made that motion, I thought you were referring to sidewalks altogether.
Oh, yeah.
I understand this gentleman's concern. When it goes to the Board of Works,
Okay, hold
The,
on.
the Board of Works issue is the sidewalks on Airport and Robbins. I believe the petitioner would ask for a waiver of the sidewalks.
On the sidewalk issue internally, that you're talking about not having the sidewalk within the right of way because of the sewer move.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't believe, I don't believe that is a Board of Works decision.
That is not.
That's probably a BZA
No.
or a design waiver, either one, to get that approved.
Okay.
It's a design waiver from the Plan Commission.
Hey, this is,
They're really two separate issues on sidewalks.
there is.
Two.
Right, there's two issues on sidewalks. One issue is the interior sidewalks, okay, which might be Board of Zoning, all right? decision to make.
Or design waiver.
Order works.
Board of Works, okay? The other issue is whether or not we should have a sidewalk on Airport Road.
All right, I'm not making that contingent.
Madam Chairman?
Are you not making it for or against? Is what you're saying? You're not
saying
even
just
addressing-
for the matter to get
One
settled.
moment, please.
I'd just like to say one thing. In my career, a waiver can be done at this level without a public notification of, you're the body, you're the Plan Commission, you have the right to do and make some of those decisions. With that being said, is there any chance that you could make your motion where the interior sidewalks is waived tonight and then we're only dealing with Airport Road at the Board of Works?
Are the interior sidewalks in the point? By point?
They would be in the plans. So,
Are the interior sidewalks waiver inside all of our points of issue?
yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that is part of your motion, that all of these have to be satisfied?
Correct.
Correct. So I think we're covered.
Well,
we have.
I believe that's a specific issue for the Plan Commission. That point number 14 on your list, under section 66-155, that's a variance from subdivision standards,
On 7 of 16, page 7 of 16?
3 of 16.
Okay. So you're saying that we have to make that decision?
If you could, it would save us a step. As your counsel indicated, it's your body that would waive the requirement of the sidewalk to be within the right-of-way. We're pushing it out. So if your motion could take that into account tonight, that point number 14 is approved, then we're only dealing with Airport Road at the Board of Works.
Correct.
Okay.
Scott?
So you could grant the waiver for the internal streets sidewalks, so not airport. That's a Board of Works issue. I think we've all agree on that.
Right.
If your motion contains the design waiver to allow the sidewalk to be outside of the right-of-way, that would satisfy staff's comments. My addition to that would be if you were to amend the motion to allow for that, make that also contingent upon sanitary agreeing to move the sewer line out of the road. Because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense. And the reason the logic would be tonight to add that would be otherwise we're approving a primary plat that they're gonna have to come back next
Right.
week to get a
Right.
design waiver from us anyway.
Right.
Yeah, then I agree we should amend it to that.
Okay, we need the second has to be amended? Do you agree to be amended?
Can you make a separate motion so it doesn't have to be amended? Like you make the motion for the sidewalks, line 15 first, we vote on that, and then he makes his motion.
You can do it that way.
Okay.
You want to do it that way? You withdraw your, okay. So I will call for the motion. And Kurt, could you read that so we know exactly what we are
What I
voting on?
have is a motion to approve the primary plat contingent on Stormwater Board approval, Sanitary Board approval, and the Board of Works approval for the sidewalk waiver on Airport Road and Robbins Road.
I thought we were doing the waiver first. Just
No,
the
that motion's on the floor, so we have to vote on it.
This is the motion that I have. And I believe agreement of the review comments with the staff.
Okay.
Correct.
So we have a motion and we have a second. Kurt, could you go ahead and call the roll?
He didn't address Airport Road.
Pardon?
I believe his original motion was not about Airport Road, it was about the interior.
No, it was about
He said he wasn't
airport.
even going to address the Airport Road, correct?
It was about airport.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was about them dealing with the Board of Works for Airport Road.
Right.
That is
Right.
what the Board of Works is overseeing, is that Airport Road issue.
Okay, so we're saying that we want the Board of Works to review that?
Correct. They're gonna make the decision.
Right,
It's
they're
not
gonna
in
make
our
that
power.
decision.
Right.
We're gonna, okay, they're
We're
going
not
to make
going
that
to say
decision.
they need to have anything.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what they decide from our point of view, whatever. they
Right,
decide,
whatever they
we'll go.
decide, we're
Whatever
going.
they-
Okay,
Because that's the body that handles it.
Okay.
So,
okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. Kurt has read that.
Does everybody understand the motion?
Yeah.
Does everybody know we're gonna do another motion then?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Mike, do you
Austin
wanna do
Bonta?
that?
Yes.
Tom Cherry?
yes.
Kerry Gunning?
Yes.
Mike Hill?
Yes.
Gina Geist Hurst?
Yes.
Luke Wyman?
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon? Denise Little?
Yes.
Chip Thompson?
Now, is anybody willing to make our second motion contingent upon the sanitary board approving the movement of the sidewalks?
So,
Scott, is that right?
that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I will make the motion to grant the waiver to move the sidewalk.
Out internally, outside of the right of way, contingent upon the
Okay.
utility board approving the movement of the sewer line.
I'm not being funny, but can I just say what you said? That's my motion.
You stated it very well.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take credit for that in minutes. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. Kurt, can you call roll?
He's still writing the motion.
Yeah.
He's very good.
Okay, I have a motion to grant the waiver to place the sidewalk outside of the non-pavement right-of-way, contingent on the Stormwater Board approval of their stormwater plan. Or scratch that. No, that's a sanitary plan. Oh, utility board.
He keeps saying stormwater out loud and whispering utility board, so it's utility board approval
Okay.
of the sewer movement.
Okay, call
Okay.
roll, please.
Austin Bonta?
Yes.
Tom Cherry?
Yes.
Kerry Gunning?
Yes.
Mike Hill?
Yes.
Gina Geist Hurst?
Yes.
Luke Wyman?
Yes.
Kevin Witherspoon? Denise Little,
Yes.
Chip Thompson.
Congratulations.
Motion passes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's
I don't get to say this too often, but it's so nice working with a community that has an open mind and is development friendly. And your community will continue to grow and prosper with that mentality. I appreciate it. I cannot wait to be back with our next one, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I think that this is a win-win for everybody.
Right.
Thank
It's
you very
a
much.
beautiful plan.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, before we take off, I would like staff to kind of review what we have in the pipeline coming up.
Well, what I asked you to, just for a couple minutes, that the staff, AJ, Kurt, everybody in the planning staff, I've been involved in some phone calls, have been working to streamline this process out a bit, okay? And we actually have a meeting on Wednesday with some of the other board attorneys and things like that to get to what Luke was pointing out, that we need to get to the point where they've been the stormwater, they've been the sanitary, if that's a need for them. And so I want you to all know that that work is being done diligently behind the scenes so that Lennar is one of these, this particular project, and there's maybe 2 or 3 more that are kind of in this kind of mix right now. But moving forward, the new petition walked in tomorrow. They are going to go to stormwater. If they need to go to the utility board, those things are going to happen before they come here. So I just want everyone to know that the staff is working to get that done so that we can move past having the contingencies that we had tonight. But we have a few kind of in the hopper, not very many, 2 or 3, nothing of this size, that are kind of, that's been in the process churning for much longer, that's kind of out of rhythm. And so we may have a couple of those coming, but as of right now, if a new petition walked in, we would have that process a little bit more streamlined. So that will continue on Wednesday with some of those meetings, because those boards have to be ready with their applications and their timing and an understanding of why it's coming before. And some of this is getting together because of now everybody has a consulting engineer for all these boards to actually get, their sleeves rolled up and look through to make sure these all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So I just want everybody to know that the applications are being redone, the process is being looked at from top to bottom to try to make sure this is more streamlined, so that we can get away from having this kind of volume of contingencies before us. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. I know Kurt's been, ever since, probably the last at least several weeks, they have been buried in just redoing the process. So I just want everyone to know that.
And we thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Okay. Thank you for your comments, and explaining of the sidewalk was perfect.